Welcome to the Andy Beshear Podcast. We are now 30 plus episodes in to the podcast. If this is your first time, this is supposed to be a conversation among friends, a way that we process the difficult information that seems to hit us minute after minute after minute, a place where people from different parties and different backgrounds can come together and at least try to agree on the most important things that we face. This is also a place where we tell the truth. And our number one goal is for you to enjoy it, but you also to feel a little bit lighter and a little bit more ready to face the week ahead. This episode is going to be a good one. We have a viral content creator, Keith Edwards, that's here that actually flew in, and we talked in studio about what's going on in this country, but also what it's like to be a content creator and how you create a YouTube channel that has millions of followers. I think you're going to find his perspective is really interesting and thoughtful. And with that, let's get to the interview and let's get to this episode of the podcast. This week on the Andy Beshear Podcast, we have a very special guest. Keith Edwards is a nationally recognized political strategist, communicator, and digital storyteller, and he has a heck of a lot more subscribers on YouTube than the Andy Beshear Podcast. Keith, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Very excited to have you on. Tell our listeners, and we have some viewers, how you got to this point.
You know, I think one of the crazy things, I think there's a long way that I came about it because I got into politics in 2017 as a response to Trump. So I feel like this kind of happened not overnight, but the YouTube channel I started in June of 2024, and then it grew to 1 million in like 15 months. So that has been there's been like a long trajectory, but there's also been like a very quick rise. But I got into this not to do YouTube. I got into this truly just to help make change, which sounds so naive, but that's what I did.
That's why I'm sitting here too.
Yeah.
So 2017, tell me what it was about Trump that grabbed you enough to where you said, I'm going to change what I'm doing in my life. Because I think you were working in television at the time.
Yep.
And I'm going to dedicate myself towards politics.
It's two things. It's one, I come from, I don't have a college degree. I come from a very working class family. And so it felt like when I was always been a hobbyist of politics. And so when I was watching the Clinton campaign religiously, I kind of was like, well, I felt like they did some things I would have done differently. So there was that part of it. But also I just thought Donald Trump was trying to change the country into something that I didn't recognize. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, the way I got into television was the same way I tried getting into politics. So I just started from the very bottom and just worked my way up. And so I literally just started to volunteer locally. There's pictures of me. Probably my favorite picture is just handing out leaflets on like ballot proposals that were on I worked in New York City, or lived in New York City at the time.
So you were handing out those in New York.
Yeah.
You got to be pretty tough to do that.
You know, it's so funny. I'm an introvert.
Yes.
I'm such an introvert. But if you give me a reason to do something, I can talk to anyone.
Right.
But I cannot, like, if I think a guy is hot at a bar, I cannot say hello ever, ever. But if I have a mic in my hand or a pamphlet, I can pretty much talk to anyone.
So you get inspired, but between 2017 and even 2020, the trajectory from handing out leaflets to working in communications on campaigns, to even working on a presidential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't fully understand why it happened as quickly as it did. But I am a very hard worker. I'm also a fast learner, and I think those two things, as you know, in politics, can be very beneficial because political campaigns are like nothing else. It kind of like it feels a little bit like TV when you're on a production, where you're as long as you are good at what you do, mm-hmm. and people can trust you and you're nice to people, you can kind of move very quickly up through the ranks. That's one of the reasons why I think politics is so great for anyone if you're interested in doing campaigns, is because if you work hard, there's always going to be a job for you, and quite literally, you can move up very quickly.
Tell me something in those campaigns that you've worked on that you did or that you offered that you're really proud of, that you look back on and say, I really added value there.
I don't know if it's adding value, but, on the Lincoln Project, I was their communications director, and I was the only one who, during that time, tweeted for that account.
Yes.
And I grew it from like 400,000 followers to like 2.5 million in like 6 months. I don't think that was all me, but it was a lot of me, because I think it's like one of those things, lightning in a bottle sort of situations. But also, you might remember like when a fly landed on Mike Pence's head during the...
I do remember that.
Yes, I created an account called Mike Pence's Fly, and it got, I think, 175,000 followers in like 2 hours. And we got to raise some money for for trans youth just through that one, like a couple of tweets. And so
that was amazing to see that take off. And then every one of us in politics at a debate now looks around for that fly.
Totally. Yeah, I would like. When you're on a debate, are you worried about that sort of stuff, or are you just so like how are you present during that sort of thing?
So for me, it's about an intense level of focus. You have to not only be prepared for the answer you give on a general topic, but you got to be listening. If you want to win a debate as opposed to not lose it, you could probably not lose a debate and just give the rehearsed answers no matter what the questions are. But to win a debate, you got to know when you can press your opponent. I had an opponent in 2023 that would not answer the basic question of whether he supported exceptions for rape and incest in Kentucky's very draconian abortion law. And listen, 80% of Kentuckians plus think that that goes too far. But he wouldn't say it. And he kept giving non-answers. And so, I could have just waited and given my rehearsed answer. But the ability to press him at that time, I think, is how you win debates.
I think if I can compliment Donald Trump, I'll just say that's probably one of the geniuses of him, is that he's constantly present. I think it's because he's worked in TV for so long, but he's constantly reacting to what's happening in the moment. And if you watch any of his speeches, if you watch any, he isn't just giving the answer, he's also noticing what's happening. And I think there's something about that might kind of display authenticity, even if he's not.
That's interesting. Do you think he is less concerned about making a mistake, which a lot of people are, and thinking more about what ratings he'll get depending what he says?
I think he does concern himself about when he says things, knowing it's going to cause an impact. But I think he knows that if he makes a mistake, or if he is more present and in the moment, it tends to work in his favor. Because I do think the mistakes. I hope Democrats realize that mistakes don't matter. Like, I don't even like what kind of mistake can someone make now?
I made a pretty decent mistake in the pandemic.
What was that?
When people were applying for unemployment benefits and we were getting the flood in, someone in Kentucky applied under the name of Tupac Shakur. And so I heard about this and I walked out all angry. I said, I can't believe people are trying to cheat the system, except one of our reporters that was there, who's now, I think in Missouri, knew Tupac Shakur. He changed his name, and he worked in the restaurant industry in Lexington, Kentucky.
So it was a real person?
He was a real person. And he told me afterwards, and oh my goodness, I'd just run over a constituent basically with a bus. And at a press conference where at the time millions of people were watching. But I'll never forget, I called him that night. And I just said, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm governor. I need to be more responsible than that. I know how this must make you feel. He showed a lot of grace and said, it hurt when I heard about it, but I appreciate this call. Then he told me he voted for me, which I also appreciated.
Yes.
But the next day, I walked out and I started the press conference. Remember, this is a press conference where I'm going to talk about number of cases and all the rest with an apology to him because he deserved one. And I didn't push the blame on anybody else. I'm the one that said it.
I think Donald Trump has created this environment where if you apologize, you've automatically lost. So I think it's interesting that that's a story that you tell with pride, which I think is important because in my daily life, I'm constantly making mistakes. I don't intend to, but if you make a mistake, you hurt someone, it's okay to just say sorry.
People now want us to be very real. They want us to be very authentic in politics. And if that's going to be the case, you're not going to get every one of them right.
No. I mean, especially if you're doing politics the way that I think we should today, which is more, I think, free and loose and just talking like a normal person, which I don't even know what that means.
Being
but
normal?
I think, yeah.
Yes. Tell me what else you think that folks in politics right now ought to learn, especially from your background and even where they ought to be, online. I think if we look at the last campaign, Donald Trump made more strides with podcasters, was on more YouTube shows, really started speaking to a group of creators that the Democrats maybe weren't.
Well, one of the reasons why I started the channel is because I could see that there was a need for more liberal voices on YouTube. So that's why I started it. I don't know what the answer is for Democrats with the internet. I feel like the internet's been around a while, and I don't know why they're just now waking up in 2025 and saying, hey, we should check this thing out. Internet.
Called the
Interesting.
Internet.
Instagram. I wonder what that's about.
The Google box.
Yeah. I think it's great you're doing a podcast. I think it...
And thanks for coming in person.
I think everything's better in person. Everything's better in person. So I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. But, I think it's good that you're doing this. And I kind of feel like we just need to try lots of things and see what sticks.
The idea of you've got to do it all.
Yeah, but not you. You don't have to do it all. You have your podcast. Gavin Newsom is, I don't know, posting AI videos, and I think that's good that he's trying that. We have other politicians like Zoran Mamdani doing other things, trying to get attention. But I think you just got to crowdsource this sort of thing, see what does and doesn't work. I actually am not aware I don't pay attention to like what the content is made on the right. Like what is Mike Johnson doing on Instagram? Is he doing anything? There's so much of pressure put on Democratic politicians to suddenly become influencers when I'm not even sure if that exists on the right. Does it? Like I don't know.
Well, so my theory is a lot of the influencers that got behind Trump the last time weren't necessarily Trumpers, but no one over 45 knew who they were or what they did. And this is a former president coming on their show. That is a huge validation for what you do. And I think that we should have been out there recognizing the influence, the breadth of the communication of some of these individuals. I think it's another example of how Democrats sometimes are viewed as talking at instead of talking to people.
Yes. Well, yes, I do think that is a thing that is true. I think Democrats do that quite often. I think the last election, we suffered from that a lot, where folks were saying it's too expensive, and I think the Democratic position until like maybe 3 months before the election was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Actually, it's much higher than it's been. And I just think that if someone is telling you how they feel, you can't tell them that's not how you feel. Even in a relationship, like I'm not currently in one, but when I've been in a relationship, it's the worst thing you can tell someone is you don't feel that way. No, you don't. No, actually, and
that does not work with my wife.
I was gonna say, I was gonna wonder, but so I think Democrats need to start listening.
It's that idea of when people say they don't feel safe, Democrats were citing them statistics.
Yes.
Instead of saying, okay, but the National Guard isn't going to make you safer long term, let's talk about the other things that we can do that actually address how you feel.
Yes, but the thing is the National Guard does make people feel safer. That's the thing about authoritarianism
in the immediate
that's
sense.
Scary, is that it tends to work a little bit, but then there's all the other things that come with it.
See, I'm curious about that because I think we're seeing the start of a backlash now.
Yes.
Not just against the National Guard, because I'm fortunate to know Democrats and Republicans. I wouldn't be governor of Kentucky if I didn't know Republicans. That the idea of armed military on the streets in the America that they believe in, nor is masked ICE agents pulling into neighborhoods at 3 a.m, right? Jumping out of their cars, throwing somebody in the back, and they could be in another state in a couple hours.
Yeah, well, CNN just came out the poll today at the time of recording that I believe he's at his lowest approval ratings ever.
Trump.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ever. I think this is a large part. Why? I think I don't know what the answer is to all of this. I don't know. I don't pretend to know. But I do believe that within this, Donald Trump is planting the seeds of his own destruction, where folks like probably folks who voted for you and supported what Trump was doing, they're like, wait a second, they don't, like, they're going after schools, trick-or-treaters, military in the streets, $280 million from my tax money going to Trump.
I think $40 billion
to Argentina.
When they're not fully funding SNAP benefits.
And by the way, where they're screwing over our soybean farmers because China...
You were in Kentucky.
Yes, is instead of buying from us, buying from Argentina. And what's our response to that? Here's some more money.
Bail out Argentina.
So I do think...
We're giving them the money to pay China.
Yes.
To cut out our soybean farmers.
Yes, that's what is happening. So I do think that, one, we have to be noisy about all this. I don't think we can rely on, unfortunately, the mainstream media anymore. I mean, the 60 Minutes interview with Trump, I thought was just not journalism. So, but it's obviously working. Whatever is happening is working. I don't know how people are getting their information now, but it appears that they're getting it and they're hearing the truth still. So that's important. And I do think that Americans are very special people, because I do believe that one of the worst things you can do to an American is tell them what to do. And that is what Donald Trump is repeatedly doing, and I don't think they're going to stand for that for much longer.
One interesting thing about Trump is how he owns his policies as much as any president that I've ever seen. Now, they're really negative for the American people, but it's going to be hard for him to later say that they weren't his. Think about holding the tariff board, and tariffs are just hammering our economy, and in the long term going to raise costs of everything for everyone. The big ugly bill. I mean, he named it. For him, it was big and beautiful. I will tell you, it's going to hit rural health care like a sledgehammer, and that's one of the strongest parts of the economy of rural America. And so I think you're right when you're talking about the seeds of his own destruction. But I think telling the story is going to be really important. As each example starts to come out, the 2 rural health clinics in Virginia, the birthing center that's not going to open in Louisville, Kentucky, where we are, and making sure people see that before, the big part of it hits, because, I want to be able to undo that damage before it fully happens.
I don't know if we can undo it before it fully happens. I kind of think, I hope not, honestly. I kind of think you got to touch the hot stove. And I think we've been trying as much as we can to not, for Americans to not feel the pain of their own decisions. And I kind of feel like it's hot stove time. Like, time to touch it, burn your hand, and maybe we can learn something from it. But I don't think what we should do, though, is when people feel the pain of this, and I think we see this a lot on the left, and there's a lot of this I told you so mentality.
100%.
And I am not about I told you so. I'm about I'm so sorry this is happening to you, and we can do things differently. We have to bring people into the tent, and you're not going to bring them in by being like, well,
by being judgmental.
You voted for the stupid,
Yeah, I think you are 100% right in that we can judge the policy makers. We can judge this president, but we shouldn't be judging his voters. I mean, I will tell you.
We should love them. We should love the voters.
I don't use the phrase MAGA Republicans, and that's just me, because I think that's othering people. And I think the two biggest threats to our country right now are the division that Donald Trump's
Yes.
sowing, the us versus them.
Yes.
And then secondarily, you were talking about it, the belief that the American dream is out of reach.
It is, but this is the genius of Trump, is that he's kept us divided. And listen, my mom is very Republican. My dad is very Republican. I still love them, and I can talk to them about policy differences where they may be policies and not lies.
What's Thanksgiving like?
Thanksgiving is fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Because y'all love each other.
My mom's helped me with my YouTube channel a lot.
Wow.
Yes,
See, that's people aren't as political as we think they are.
I mean, she's super political, but she
cares about her son.
Yes, and I think whatever that is,
Yeah.
we can have that with our neighbors as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the big lie to me is that we're more different than we are the same. I want the best for my country. I guarantee you, so many MAGA voters feel the exact same way. We have different ways of getting there. I also believe that they are drinking a cup full of poison, and I cannot judge the person who is sick. I can judge the person who's making them sick. And so I hate the people who have done that to my fellow Americans, but I do not hate them. In fact, I love them and I hope they get better, and I don't think we can start with the getting better if we pretend like there's these huge differences that we can never overcome.
I believe that the similarities that we all have, the things we all care about, where we've got to get is them not being bipartisan but nonpartisan.
I like that.
Because the idea of bipartisan is it's some deal that you make where you get this and someone else gets something else. But should we be doing that about jobs or health care or public safety or public education? I think the only way we stop the constant politics on everything is to say these core things that every American cares about, we're going to do them first, and they're not going to be some deal. And the American people are going to push back if they somehow become bargaining chips.
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea. The idea of something nonpartisan sounds good. I feel like it would put me out of a job on YouTube, so let's just push the brakes on that.
There's like the other 20% of everything.
Okay, perfect. But no, I do think that has to be like some starting point of the way forward is realizing that that politics becoming this sort of religion has not helped us at all.
Tell our listeners how they follow your YouTube channel and some of the things that you talk about. And now most people listening to this probably already do, but let's get you some more subscribers.
You can just put my name, Keith Edwards, on YouTube, and that is the best place you can find me. I'm also on Instagram and X and Threads and TikTok, and I talk about politics. I try to do what we're doing here. I try to be somewhat rational about the irrational. I try to condense the news in a way that hopefully is not dramatic, but sensible. And, a lot of this is absurd. And so we do laugh at the absurdity. I think that is one way that you can deal with authoritarians is not by meeting the level of lie with truth, but just meeting it with a laugh.
So of the videos that you have posted on YouTube since 2024, what's been your favorite? Maybe not the most viewed, but when you look back, you say, that was a good one.
That's a good question. Oh, my God. There's so many. There are so many. I will say that I got to interview Tim Walz, and that was a very cool moment. I think it's hard, the way that I speak to millions of people, but it's just literally me in my room with a camera.
Yes.
And so it's those little moments that help kind of ground where I am, and the fact that Tim Walz, one, wanted to talk to me, and two, was interested in what I was saying, I thought was kind of one of those moments where it's like, oh my God, okay, so this is what it is. Okay.
What's one video, if you could go back and do again or pull off, you think you would?
I probably have deleted it if it's that bad, but I just gotta. I think I'm not sure how you feel about this sort of stuff now that you're a content creator, but
ooh, I'm a content creator.
You are a content creator.
All right.
You're creating content, But I just think each video, like a video that doesn't do well, doesn't get enough views, a part of me still dies inside whenever that happens, and I hate that. That's something I'm trying to work on in therapy. But so it's when videos just don't, when you're like, why didn't anyone watch that? That's the ones that can kind of hurt.
I tell you what, when you're in government, you have so many announcements that you have a bunch of those.
Yeah, it must be hard though, because when you're when you're doing something that can actually, like, this stuff I talk about, I think it's important, but I'm not impacting people's lives. Like, you can actually make decisions, but it's hard. I imagine it's hard that if it's not sexy, or if you can't sell it in a certain way, you're like, no one's paying attention, or like no one cares. It must be incredibly frustrating.
Well, in the end, it gives you some perspective to back up and to recognize why you're doing something. I remember I was one of the lead defendants of the Affordable Care Act. The Republican attorneys general filed to overturn it. The Democratic AGs defended it. I think it was Javier Becerra and myself were the two faces of that. At the same time, I had a case against the governor of Kentucky at the time about powers in the executive branch. Both of those cases were decided on the same day. We won the Affordable Care Act case, protected health care for millions of Americans, probably the biggest, most impactful win I'd ever had, and I lost the state case. And the only thing our media reported on was the state case.
Yeah.
But millions of Americans couldn't get kicked off their coverage for pre-existing conditions. And in the end, that's got to be enough.
That's great. That's so good. Again, like, I can't imagine being able, I think governors are so important right now, especially Democratic governors.
Yes.
And so I just think you're such a special specimen, because you are Democrat, elected statewide, in a very, I don't know how red this state is. It must be.
We were Trump plus 30.
Okay. Very red state. So you've kind of cracked the code in a way that I don't think many Democrats have been able to. I don't know what you're doing that other people aren't doing. I hope you have some sort of conference where you can bring the Democrats together, because whatever you're doing, and I know governors are different than a senator or a congressperson, because the federal is different than the state.
And we've got to get results on a daily basis.
Yes, and so I think that's a lot of it. It's like, the road, you're like, well, the roads are better, and by the way...
And Gretchen Whitmer is so right about it, and was saying it earlier. I think one mistake that the Biden and then Harris campaign made is the Infrastructure Act was enormous, and it made positive impacts everywhere, and they didn't talk about it at all.
But also, it took so long.
Yes.
It took a lot of it. Like, I think a lot of that stuff still hasn't.
Internet for all. It's still in the ground.
Yeah, or the electric chargers for cars. I don't think that's even happened yet.
We've got 4 of them, but the rest of them are still continuing. Now,
Yeah.
part of that is back up in supply of the things we need. Looking through the programs, that wasn't the worst, but what you're describing is real. So as Democrats, we put way too many rules.
Yes.
And way too many regulations.
You're feeling a little abundance to me. It's a little abundance.
But if what we care about is the result,
yes,
then we've got to want to get it to our people as quickly, but safely as we can.
I worked for the city council. I was a special advisor to the speaker of the city council in New York, and that has never made me more, like, I just felt so, like, it made me never want to work for the government again, because it's just, sorry to anyone watching who works for the New York City Council, but it's just passing laws to pass laws. It was just insane to me. It's like we got to pass some laws, It's the time we pass laws, and they're just passing laws with no foresight of, like, what's going to cost, who's going to manage it, and this bureaucracy of, like, and the desire to just do things just to do them, to look like you're doing something, I think is part of the problem too. And I think that's part of the reason why traditionally either very red or very blue states have these problems, is because they just, one, they just can pass laws, and then 2, there's not much to fight for other than like, not like just looking like you're getting something done rather than actually what are you doing that's actually going to make people's lives better.
So you mentioned governors.
Yes.
And I think you're right. Governors are critically important right now. But I think the governors' races that are coming up are also critically important. And when we look back at the last presidential election, Democrats now run in 5 states with 0 margin of error. And my belief is if you're going to put another state in play, sure, it'd be great to win House races, and we've got to flip the House. But the real way to do that is to win the governor's race.
Oh, interesting. Where would you think would be like the first place you'd want to try to like go after?
Well, it's already in play. Georgia and Nevada would be in better shape with Democratic governors, but I'll give you one, Iowa.
Yes.
So great.
Rob
now
Sand.
there is
Rob
a
Sand.
primary there, but Rob Sand
Sand.
is doing incredibly well. I've known him for a while.
Who else is running? I don't even know.
Well, Rob is certainly the front runner, Democrat, elected statewide.
Yes.
And
Auditor.
And the sitting Republican governor, I think, has the lowest approval ratings in the nation for governors, and that always carries over into the next election.
Does Iowa have soybeans?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
And-
I'm
and-
all about the soybeans.
Right.
I'm soybean pilled.
Corn and beans are what our part of the country and Iowa. You also have cattle farms that are,
Yeah,
that are
that's
throughout
also,
the Midwest.
yes.
And our cattle farmers are angry, and good for them for speaking out.
Are they mad at Trump? Or are they just mad?
They're mad at Trump right now.
Uh-huh.
But the challenge is, in my opinion, the National Democratic Party hasn't invested in these areas in so long that the National Republican Party has been able to demonize Democrats and make being a Republican part of people's identity. And so what I see is people mad at Trump is mad at the policy positions, but still part of their identity is their political party. And it's just going to take more to break through.
Got it.
And what I've seen, at least in Kentucky, is results can do that.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is if you can't afford your child's next prescription, you'll vote for anybody that can help you do that.
Well, good. I don't pretend to know what it's going to take to break the spell on some Republicans, but I do think that Trump is helping us do that in real time.
So if we were closing out and you could give one piece of advice to folks out there that are going to be running next year, whether that is the presence they should have on social media or how they should run, what would it be?
I think the most important thing right now is to just be yourself, whatever that looks like. I think people fall into a trap of wanting to replicate someone else. And this is going to sound hokey, but there really is only one version of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think my job is to make the best version of me I can. I've done that by going to therapy. I've done that by putting a lot of time and effort into understanding what I'm good at, what I'm bad at. And if you're running for office, or even, I think it's just good career advice, just try stuff. Just try stuff and enjoy the failure. Failure is another way of saying to yourself that you're learning. And if you're not failing, you're not learning. And I do think politicians could benefit from failing a little bit because we tried being safe for way too long. So whatever that looks like to someone, I don't know if that's too broad or not, but my hope is that we have people who are learning and growing as they run for office.
Keith Edwards, with his advice to candidates, which is one of the rules of this podcast, you be you.
Oh, is that true?
Yes.
Ah.
And you have definitely been you. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Oh, my God. Thanks for having me.
All right.
All right.
You're listening to the Andy Beshear Podcast. And now our weekly segment, My Conversation with the Johns. This is when my friends John Rabinowitz and John McConnell and I discuss the issues of the week, hopefully help you process all that's going on in the world and get you ready for the week ahead. We'll start today with John Rabinowitz.
Yeah, I will tell you, we have a lot of issues we can talk about after last week. I think we start with the elections. Some big victories for your party, the Democratic governorship in Virginia, the New York City mayors, the governor of New Jersey, and Prop 50. And so I don't know where you want to begin. They're all big victories. I will tell you, in the discussions I've had with a lot of people in my party, it's not unexpected. These were blue states. I do think Virginia's kind of purple.
That does sound like a party that did not do well in its explanation.
Listen. We still got next year. But what are your thoughts on the outcomes of these races?
So Tuesday was a massive win for the Democratic Party, and you can just look all over the country and see the examples. New Jersey had not had 3 straight terms of Democratic governors in 60 years. It was also the state that had swung most to Trump of any other, and the margin of victory there was enormous, exceeded anything that anybody had predicted. Virginia had a popular Republican term-limited governor. Typically, you see those lean to the party of that popular governor, yet you saw a 15-point win by Abigail Spanberger. Prop 50 got over 60% of the vote in California, but then we had a Democratic elected statewide in Georgia for a PSC seat. A small city in South Carolina, not necessarily small, but that I had visited while I was down there, their city council in South Carolina swung Democrat. And so I think what you saw are 2 parts. Number one, the Democratic candidates were more focused on people's everyday concerns and challenges. That people are calling it affordability.
Yep.
I call it your job and whether or not you can support your family. Your next doctor's appointment, the roads and bridges you drive each day, the school you drop your kids off at, and whether you feel safe in your community. Democrats were much more connected on those issues in this election. That would explain winning by 4 or by 8. But when you win by 15, it's definitely a repudiation of the Trump presidency as well, and the economic pain that it's causing.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to ask both of you. Do you think this is a referendum on our president? Number one, I think what you mentioned is absolutely accurate on the margin of victory. And I think maybe some of those independent voters that may have voted for Trump last year maybe have gone back because of the affordability aspect of the issues that people are concerned about right now.
Yeah, we've seen a significant flip there. I think that Trump won in 2024 because he convinced voters that he was more focused on helping them pay the bills at the end of the week and the end of the month. But when we talk about tariff policy, when we talk about the big ugly bill, it's only made it harder. And I think people are reacting to that.
With those big wins, I mean, we talk about Mikey, you talk about Abigail.
Who are also both great candidates. I probably should have started there, but great candidates.
With that kind of momentum starting at the end of the year going into 2026, I mean, as far as the energy and the optimism, what are you hearing?
Well, I'm hearing great things. As you know, I'm vice chair of the Democratic Governors Association right now. We went 2 for 2. We held one and we picked up a seat. And so that's really exciting for us. We've got 36 races next year. And I think what this shows is more of them are going to be competitive than normal. And we've got a real opportunity. It also merges in, because these are governor's races, with what are various governors doing when an administration isn't paying SNAP benefits or is withholding grants. Certainly Democratic governors or Democratic AGs are suing. And in a lot of these instances, we're getting the money that would be denied. We have AmeriCorps in Kentucky. You don't have that in Oklahoma. Why? Because the Oklahoma governor or AG won't sue and therefore can't get those dollars flowing. So I think there's going to be both candidates on the Democratic side that are more focused on those everyday issues, but I also think there's going to be some accountability for governors that aren't doing their job out of just blind loyalty to the president.
And that kind of leads me to the next topic, which would be SNAP. We look at them in the elections coming up in 2026. I mean, how do we feel that's going to play out with?
Well, first off, tell me, what are the rules? Because it seems to switch every week.
Yeah.
Are you going to have to claw back money that maybe the state has already given out? How are you looking at it for our state?
When you look at government shutdowns, this is the first time ever that SNAP benefits weren't going to be paid out. And every other shutdown they have been, and those are presidents from both parties. So this president made a decision that he was willing to use that people going hungry as leverage, which I think is 1,000% wrong. Now, I went to court. I filed suit, and a number of other AGs and some governors did, and we won in Rhode Island. We won in Massachusetts, and the judge there said you either have to pay partial or you have to pay full. Rhode Island, some cities filed in, and they got an order saying you have to pay full. So the government, the federal government said, okay, we'll pay partial. And let me brag on some Kentucky employees. They got the chart they needed that the federal government sends at 9 p.m. at night. And they came in and worked until 3 a.m. And we became the first state where partial benefits were loaded on people's EBT cards. They deserve credit for that. I mean, it's just...
So define partials. Is it like 66% or something is what I read?
So it's that minus a certain amount that is normally subtracted from benefits. And so it's not everybody getting 60-something%. Some people get zero under this that might have otherwise been getting, say, a couple $100 of help. And so it's a real challenge because it's not, again, just a percentage of normal. It goes into a formula that can cause a little more harm. But what was wild in all this to me is a president who was saying, I don't have the authority to do it, had a court that's in Rhode Island that said, yes, you do, and you have to. And they could have said, okay, let's feed people.
And it sounds like the judge's ruling last Friday is more a process to give the appellate court time to analyze everything, but that doesn't help things.
So what the Trump administration did is say, no, we won't pay full benefits even though you say we can. And they appealed it ultimately to the Supreme Court that had a short order from what's considered a liberal justice come out that stayed all of the orders that though the partial funding is going through. Until they have an opportunity to review it.
Do you all feel like we're getting to like a critical mass with 1 in 8 Americans who use SNAP, and then at the same time with how many Americans are going to see their healthcare premiums, which is going to affect a lot of small businesses.
And how much housing costs.
And how much housing cost. Do you think there's just a critical mass we're seeing start to happen? With
I guess you'll see next year in the elections, won't you? Because that will be the referendum on those issues.
I believe what's on the ballot next year is the American dream. And who's going to work hard to make it real for people? I mean, think about the number of people that go to work hard, play by the rules, and can't afford enough to eat, or can't pay the electricity bill, or now can't afford their health care on the exchange. That is a real concern to the entire country, and it should concern both parties.
John, was it you or I can't remember, maybe it was someone else I was talking to. They said the new thing people are looking at are 50-year mortgages. I mean, I can't even believe that's a thing.
It wasn't me, but I've heard of it.
Because of affordability. That's, I mean, talk about American dream. Like, we should not offer 50-year mortgages. This is just crazy. Speaking of crazy, what's going on with these airlines?
And that's a great intro. It's crazy.
These airlines are 10% or 6 to 10%, I guess, are canceling. I have to go on a trip this week. I'm checking every hour.
It seems like compounding challenges. Let's go before the shutdown. We still seem to have more flights canceled or delayed. And there's more AI in that scheduling and maintenance than just about anywhere else I can imagine in our economy. So that concerns me on two levels. But then not enough air traffic controllers for a long time. And now the shutdown have been seriously impacting flight schedules. Now, what's hard to know is some of this, the transportation cabinet, federal transportation cabinet, pushing and using this as leverage.
And I think today, Trump tweeted something where he is going to suggest $10,000 go to those that stayed on the job working on the air traffic controllers, and then he's very disappointed on the ones that did not.
You know, let me just give a little credit because I disagree with this president on most everything. The idea that we would bonus folks that came in and did their job when they weren't getting a paycheck, that's a pretty good idea. And whether or not he can do it legally or not, that's the carrot instead of the stick.
a president that normally looks at punitive measures was looking at a reward for a job well done. I mean, I'd have to say that's a positive.
And I'll tell you, we almost got away with not talking about tariffs. But John, what are your thoughts on the $2,000 bonus that may be coming out from these tariffs from President Trump?
Well, the $2,000 bonus seems to be a way just to fill the gap with the additional payments we're having to spend on things right now.
Or a way to send out checks signed by Donald Trump again. I think the big tariff news, though, was a Supreme Court, which many thought would line up behind Donald Trump for anything, had a lot of hesitancy and appears to be leaning towards a ruling limiting Donald Trump's tariff authority.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the questioning you heard, it was very pointed and direct towards the Trump administration. And it sounds like they're leaning in favor of the states.
As some of the conservative judges,
yes,
too. It appears that people disagree with it for a number of different issues. Another ruling we got was a district court enjoining the Trump administration from being able to send National Guard troops into Portland, I believe it was.
Well, moving over to a Kentucky event that happened last week, the crash that took place with UPS, and still dealing with that in the aftermath.
And I saw you on
flights.
television again, yet another tragedy.
Yeah.
And I think I texted you or called you that night, and I said, you did a great job. And I think your response to me was, I've had too many of these.
Yeah.
So
we've been through the ringer time and time again in Kentucky. Terrible tornadoes, multiple biblical rounds of flooding, multiple helicopter crashes. I mean, I remember being at Fort Campbell when the helicopter went down with the soldiers, how tough that was. Ice storms, snowstorms, windstorms, pandemic, and this one's tough because of just how violent the incident is and was. I'm the guy who owns the business. It looks like it lost 3 employees, and a lot of other people were at. It's a friend of mine. I'd walked through it, and walking the wreckage of this is like and unlike a lot of the other. A tornado, an F4 tornado, where it goes through, what it hits directly is just gone. But across the street, the Christmas lights might still be up. This one was similar. Anything in its path is gone and charred. But the paint's on the cars that were 8 feet away from that. It's just it's surreal. Of course, makes you wonder why. But the response by the first responders is just incredible. I mean, these are at least a dozen fire departments working as one in real time, and then other fire departments coming in and backfilling them so that if anything else happened, they were there and available. And right now we're at 14 people lost, but that could have hit the LAP, a Ford plant, and that would have been hundreds. Could have hit the convention center where a livestock show was about to start. But still, I mean, hard.
Tragedy. Yeah. So speaking of Kentucky events and Kentuckians, how about, on a much lighter note, how about our boy Tyler Shuck?
Good way to end this week. Got his first win.
That's it.
Almost 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, goes to Carolina, puts on a show. Super proud of him.
First win by a Saints rookie quarterback. I think they said
since the 80s.
So pretty proud of him. And he threw some balls on the run that some NFL quarterbacks can't throw.
Would you say, John, how many yards in the first quarter? What was that?
He had close to 200, I think, in the first half.
Yeah, and he'll be the first guest and active podcast player to win his first game. Is that right?
Well, he is the first guest of the Andy Beshear Podcast to start an NFL game.
That is true.
And to win it.
It's true.
But, John, there's still hope.
There is hope, and we're all athletes.
Yeah.
Or at least retired athletes. But we're so proud of him.
So they thought he was just a little bit old at 25, at 47.
Yeah. What can you do?
John over here is way older than that.
I know.
John,
I get more makeup than anybody else. It's just part of it, you know?
Well, super proud of him, though.
Yeah.
Very proud of him. And John's comment on his makeup is yet another reason to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Andy Beshear Podcast.